We've been so fixated on the sun god during the Elbaf arc that pretty much everyone has ignored the original god that we were introduced to over 1,000 chapters ago, the actual god of war, Elbaf. The country is named after this god, the warriors praise him, and I do think that he might be the big secret reveal that Oda has been cooking up for the end of this entire arc. After all, as Emu has said themselves, Elbaf is D. Now, you're probably wondering why I decided to punch in on a god that hasn't been talked about in over 1,000 chapters properly. I mean, we just left the flashback, Loki's been released and unleashing some crazy attacks like Niflheim, and Luffy's about to confront Emu, so why do we even care about this god named Elbaf? Well, it's because I think that he might be Loki, super important based on some information that Emu just very casually let slip in chapter 1171, because that sneaky little shadow freak is full of the deep lore, and I'm not gonna let that Elbaf is a D comment slip through the cracks. Now, if there's one thing that I've learned in the last 5 years living here in Japan and learning to speak the language, it's that the word choice is always insanely ambiguous for Japanese in general, but the way Oda writes in particular, and it causes a lot of confusion for the manga translation particularly. For example, the big thing that stands out to me from Emu's line in chapter 1171 is that it's written in a way that kind of personifies Elbaf or calls them out more so as a character rather than a place. For the wording specifically here, if we didn't know that Elbaf was an island also, it would most naturally just translate as Elbaf is a D, the exact same way you'd write or say Garp is a D or Roger is a D. As for the very big reveal, well, of course it feels obvious that there are ties between Elbaf and the D because we see an ancient giant, and if you count Emmeth, we see 2 giants on the left side of the mural, which of course seems to represent the Void Century. So it's not like it's this uber crazy reveal that Elbaf has connections to the D clan per se, since it's likely that the D clan is directly tied to Joy Boy. But to be completely real with you, big dog, I don't think that Emu was just talking about the country Elbaf, because that again is a weird sentence even in Japanese. No, I think that Emu was talking about the warrior god of Elbaf, who also I think is very conveniently named Elbaf. I'm actually very glad that over the last 30 years, Oda has gotten much better with his character name choices. That, or it's going to get real wild when it's revealed that every single member of Joy Boy's crew has names like Alabasta, Wano, I don't know, God Valley. I mean, with Elbaf, I'm just kind of trying to imagine how much a Starbucks barista would struggle with that name, right? Hello, I got an order for elbow, alphabet? Anyhow, what am I even talking about here, right? Elbaf is worshipping Nika, I thought. That's kind of the whole deal with the entire Elbaf arc so far. It's a sun god bargain sale, and everyone and their mom is the sun god pretty much. But you might be surprised to learn that we know for a fact that the giants do worship at least one other god, Elbaf, and I wouldn't blame you for not remembering that, but my buddy Morge actually brought it up around the beginning of that very arc, but I never really thought to cover it since it never felt very relevant to the story. But all the way back in chapter 119, yes, that is over 1,000 chapters ago, we heard of the real god of Elbaf when Dory gets all sassy with Luffy about divine judgment and all the Viking religious pride and all that stuff. And don't you worry, I double-checked everything from Little Garden in the original Japanese, and Dory is 100% saying that the name of his country's war god is Elbaf. And then Luffy and him kind of get into this argument over it because Luffy thinks that it's kind of silly that Dory would follow the words and will of a god instead of making his own decisions, which, you know, super ironic now that we actually know that Luffy is also one of the incarnations of an Elbafian god. Clever girl, Oda. Clever girl. And if you doubt me on all of this, don't please. First of all, I really like you and just really want to kind of impress you. So I did come with some receipts, of course. My daddy always told me that if I wanted to impress a woman, bring some receipts, and so I apply that to my entire life now. So if you ever see me at a convention and I have a duffel bag full of long and girthy convenience store receipts, now you know why, and please don't ask me what I've been buying. Now, The actual Japanese words that Dory uses to describe the sacred words of Elbaf are Elbafu no takagi no kotoba. And the key thing I want to punch in here is the phrase takagi no kotoba. This is best translated as the divine words from above, and the entire phrase would then be Elbaf's divine words from above, as if these are the sacred writings or words spoken from a man named Elbaf from the spirit realm, from the heavenly realm. Because this entire phrase in Japanese just carries a very otherworldly vibe. In fact, there is a word called takai, which just literally means the other world, beyond the world of gods. That's kind of like put into this phrase as well. So, let's talk about this dude then, shall we? Because there's a lot that we can actually piece together around the god's lore, and based on that, I think we might then both be able to explain a lot of loose threads in the Elbaf arc, and hopefully even answer a question about the third realm of Elbaf that's just been bothering me for over a year at this point. Okay, we'll get to it. For starters, I think we can actually pinpoint when this god was probably alive, as I am very confident that the warrior god of Elbaf is under 3,000 years old. And actually, I'd probably even go so far as to guess that he might have been alive during the Void Century and was probably born like 1,500 or so years ago, which is a bold claim, but low-key not that bold because, did you forget, I got those dang receipts, bro. Specifically, I now want to lock the hell in on that silly little Studio Ghibli-looking laboratory, right? That one over here. Yes, this is the one I'm talking about. Now, this building was built around, if not over, 3,000 years ago, and that's where I'm getting my 3,000 year benchmark at first, right? And the reason I'm so confident that our strong muscle god Elbaf existed after this point is because Dory knows who that person is. There is a history somewhere about him. Now, whether it's some stone tablets or a book made of stone tablets, what else is scroll? I don't care. Dory knows about this god Elbaf, but Ripley confirms for us that nobody knows what's up with this laboratory specifically because it predates Elbaf's entire culture and records. Which, funnily enough, Ripley's actually pretty astonished by herself. Kind of like a Scopper. Also astonished by him. And she kind of says it in this way that implies that none of Elbaf's records go that far back in time, which is what's kind of helping me now narrow down the birth of our great god Elbaf, praise be unto him, to after the creation of the robot. Then, of course, we have my toxic ex-wife, the mural, who keeps coming back, and considering that Elbaf is D, well, it kind of makes you think that this Loki-esque figure in the mural might be our boy, the divine god Elbaf himself, which does line up pretty nicely with what Oda is actually laying out during the Elbaf arc so far. Don't forget that just like with Shirahoshi, for example, or Vivi, Loki also is this destructive successor of someone very important in the past. He's obviously not the real sun god, that should be Luffy, but he definitely sees himself as one. And since we do know that Joyboy was the reincarnation or second coming of Christ, I mean Nika, I think it's fairly safe to assume that the giant in the mural is Elbaf, and that Elbaf was a member of the D-Clan who fought alongside the sun god Joyboy, who is in turn Luffy's, not ancestor, but, Luffy inherited his will. Now that would actually really help explain why there are two different gods, Elbaf and Nika, in the Elbafian lore, because Elbaf then would be the man who fought alongside the second sun god. He's their war god, and Loki is his successor, while Nika, of course, would then date back to the first world and, have been fighting a much older conflict that destroyed the world for the first time, even before the Second World and the Void Century ever happened. Speaking of which, actually, Loki is the next dude I actually want to fixate on for a moment here, because I also think that he revealed something about Elbaf to us as well. Because I think that Elbaf might have had a little buddy and a special devil fruit that Mr. Loki Boy is bringing right now to a Draugr to pound town at this very current moment. That's right. I think that Elbaf was not only the original wielder of the special Elbaf legendary fruit, but I also think that Ragnar was his original weapon. Why, you ask? Well, straight up, man, I think it's the most reasonable outcome here. We've got a super crazy, uber rare legendary devil fruit that hasn't been eaten in the last 500 to 800 or so years, based on Jarul obviously not knowing anything about it. And we've got a hammer that's also a little pet who protects it and lets Loki use it and eat the fruit. And you know why I think that's the case? Well, duh. It's because Loki looks like the guy. And come on, Oda's not really subtle with this stuff. Emmeth told us that Luffy looks just like Joy Boy. And based on the mural, I think it's pretty clear that Elbaf and Loki are probably pretty damn similar looking anyways. I mean, that thing could be Loki either way. And I'm actually kind of kicking myself in the foot here a little bit because I just recently dropped that Big Void Century story video. If you haven't seen it, you should check that out, link below. And if I had been a little bit smarter, I wouldn't have named the Elbaf Prince Odin in my story. I should have just named him Elbaf in that video. But hey, you live and you learn, and that's the life of a One Piece fan. Now, speaking of living and learning though, if you're a regular channel viewer, you've probably noticed I've been testing new video lengths, a small change in schedule, etc, etc. You get it. And a little bit of a sneaky YouTuber backend trivia for you. January is YouTube's slowest month of the year, so it's kind of prime time for me to test some new stuff out without it impacting the channel really, because you know, low expectations either way. So let me know if you're vibing with things like these real short videos, or rather the really long ones that I've also been enjoying. And if you have anything you'd like to see, why not leave a comment, or anything you don't like to see. But, you know, more helpful if you let me know what you want to see. Anyways, back to the god Elbaf, because there is one more character that we've met who might also hold some of the big guy's darker secrets, like for example, his true nature. I'd now like to draw your attention to this giant robot right here. Oh, sorry, nope, not that one. Okay, that was closer, but not that one either. Try again. Nope. No, try again. Dude, that one wasn't even from the show. There, oh, there, that's the one. Emmeth. Alright. Emmeth is a giant robot we just got introduced to during the Eckert Island arc, of course, but it's so incredibly clear to me that this dude's roots dig way deeper into Elbaf than the Adam Tree itself. He's kinda got the Viking outfit that Loki wears, that big old fur pelt belt, the Viking horns, and the giant spear we do see in the mural. That's right, in case you forgot, Emmeth was seen carrying a massive spear back when he raided Merijoa 200 years ago, and that image kind of reminds you a lot of the ancient giant from the mural in chapter 1138. Yeah, it just keeps sneaking up on me. Stop it, editor, please. Oh my god. And considering that there's a pretty fancy lab on Elbaf, I would bet my money on Emmeth being created there, probably during the Void Century, or maybe even before that. I would bet my money on Elbaf having been created there during the Void Century, and our war god Elbaf might have been even the one who created him. And then maybe also equipped him with that spear that he later raided Merijoa with. Or, the craziest option, the war god Elbaf died after his battle with Mu and was put inside of Emmeth. Now that would be pretty elite, huh? Now, this is just a little bit of a hunch, but considering that Elbaf, the war god, might be the original wielder of Ragnar, and there just so happens to be a race of advanced engineer giants known as the Hammer Clan, the Galila, who probably, by the way, built Pluton. What? Don't think that a giant robot is too far off the table now, is it? Especially because they were hella advanced compared to the modern era. We already know this from Vegapunk. So, great. We've now got some context for Elbaf, but now I really have to address the big reason I'm even making this video now and not like 5 months ago or in 5 months. Well, I mean, I don't really know. Maybe I'm gonna make it again. Why do I think that Elbaf, the god, is relevant in the current storyline with Luffy and co? Well, that is specifically because of this freaking area on the Adam Tree, the Heaven Realm. And in case you don't remember, Elbaf is split into these 3 worlds. The Underworld, aka the Origin World, where Loki was imprisoned. It's all snowy and wild, and there's also a pretty sick bar there for the brewskis with the boys. Above that is the Sun World, where most of the Elbafian giants live, and that's the part that is under siege by Emu and the Holy Knights right now. But then, above that is this mysterious Heaven Realm, Heaven World, that we literally just know nothing, zero about it at this video's release at the very least. And isn't that kind of super weird? I mean, like, nothing, dude. No mention of it. No weird offhand remarks from Herald or Jarul or Scop or Loki. Nobody. Nothing. Nada. And that is just so beyond super odd for me, particularly for Oda, because I kind of feel like it's probably the most important one, because in Norse mythology, the Heaven Realm would best line up with Asgard, the land of the gods. But It's also the location of a giant eagle who has some serious beef with the serpent dragon, the Nidhogg, who is in Niflheim at the bottom of the world tree. Fun fact, that beef is delivered by a squirrel in Norse mythology, Ratatoskr, who climbs up and down the entire tree all the time. Starting to ring some bells for you too. We've got a dragon serpent boy, probably at the bottom in the form of Loki from the underworld in Niflheim. And then we have his squirrel hammer Ragnar. What we're just missing is an eagle up above in the heaven realm on top of the tree, and up above is exactly where Dori describes God Elbaf residing, from where he grants his protection, from where he speaks to the giants. Valhalla, basically, right? Let's bring it all the way back to chapter 121 again. What Dori says here specifically during Little Garden, and I'm not sure if my editor put up the Japanese version or the English one, but I'm just gonna read you the actual translation. He says, as if you guys, who've just been living for 10 or 20 years, could possibly be able to hear the voice of the great Elbaf from above. Elbaf from above. So what if that's what Oda has been building towards? A grand reveal that there is one more ancient god, at least in Elbaf, in the realm of the gods, and he's up at the tippy top. I kind of think it'd be pretty gnarly if a giant eagle man picked up that giant sword that we see next to Elbaf stabbed in and started fighting with Emu personally, but I think that Oda might take it even a slightly different direction if Elbaf is maybe still alive to this day. Because if he's alive, there's another big thing at play, which is the voice that keeps getting mentioned here. This could be something that actually, funnily enough, ties into the voice of all things, which Luffy, of course, has the ability to hear. Now, since Elbaf is a D, there's definitely a case to be made, I think, that Oda has been hinting at this tie between the mysterious words of Elbaf and the power that those connected to the D can seemingly hear. But there's also another avenue that could be pursued here, which is the whole warrior battle in the name of Elbaf thing. Remember, Elbaf is the driving force behind Dori and Broggy's rationale for fighting their 100-year battle on Little Garden, so we could end up in the Heaven Realm for ritual combat once again before the end of this arc. In fact, I'm kind of thinking after rereading Little Garden that this is definitely gonna happen. It might just be what Luffy needs to partake in to convince Elbaf to join his side, or it might even be how Loki and Luffy are able to override the Domi Reversi, plaguing Dory and Broggy maybe. All I know right now is that I really can't wait to see what Oda has in store for us with Elbaf, since I am so unbelievably confident we're gonna see something about him in the near future. But what about the other gods of One Piece? The Sun God, the Sea God, the Earth God, the Forest God? Well, to learn all about them, you should check out this video right here where I dig into everything that we possibly could know at this point about them. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Thanks to all of our fantastic, awesome, cool, and smart Patreons. Genuinely, you make such a crazy difference to this channel, and if you want to support the channel, go check that out. And otherwise, I'm looking forward to your feedback about this video and the current videos in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one on Thursday. Gonna be a fun one. And then we have Shanks on Sunday. Ooh.